Hello, Internet. Hello, friends. Hello, family. Hello, random passerbys on said Internet. I am typically the game mechanic. That is usually how I say hello to you all. But today I will introduce myself as Michael. That is my real name, and you should probably know it if you're going to go ahead and continue to watch this video. This video in quotes, because there's not going to be a whole lot of visual stuff happening. I just kind of want to talk. I want to be able to talk to you. I want the anonymity of not having a camera on myself. Because we're going to talk about a weird day of my life, a weird traumatic experience that I went through a long time ago, and kind of what it was that day and how it's affected me since. 12 years ago, on Valentine's Day, on February 14th, 2008, I found myself attending Northern Illinois University. I transferred a couple times throughout college, and in 2007, I had pericarditis, which is a heart virus. It was kind of a weird thing. I was pretty young to have something of a heart virus and be in a cardio ward for a while, and wound up transferring away from the school I was at the time to recover. And in order to finish college, I enrolled at Northern Illinois University in little DeKalb, Illinois. And so February 14th, I found myself sitting in yet another gen ed. If you guys have transferred colleges, you probably know it's as well as I do that credits don't really transfer very well. I was a senior at the time, or should have been. And so I'm sitting there on this February 14th, 2008, in a 100 level geology class. It's was like ocean floors. And so on that day, I was sitting minding my own business in that classroom lecture hall. It was kind of a medium sized ish lecture hall with a big stage in front where the professor was on about, tectonic plates or something like that. And sitting there around 3 p.m., somebody walked through the stage door. There's a door on stage. And that was an odd thing to have happen. And before you're even kind of done processing that, there was a very, very, very loud and abrupt boom. It was the first of over 50 gunshots that went off that day in that room, in that classroom. And with that first shot, there was a weird silence that followed. It was this abrupt, thunderous violation of personal space, of emotional space, of space in general. It was this loud. My words fail me to describe it as impactfully as I'd like to, but there was this loud, thunderous boom, and then this weird void that seemed to stretch out forever. Truly, time felt like it froze. Truly did. And there was time aplenty. You could I in my head, truly, like, in this moment, in this brief less than a second time in between the first and second gunshot, there was this weird slowdown of time that I fabricated a story, a whole mythology about what was happening, about this practical joke that surely must have been happening at that exact moment, because what else could it be? You go through the unbelievable and your eyes can't believe it. So I at the time I was like, oh, this guy, this Joker, he probably had like made a potato cannon and thought he was gonna rile up some college kids and be hilarious and then boom, the second one. And as equally silent, that first one left this wake of silence and a void. That second one was equally loud, equally chaotic. It marked just panic and bedlam and screaming and gunshots and dying, kind of all around, and it was unforgiving, the sound of it all. And truly, I had this, that shock, that moment after the first shot, and then truly after the second shot, something else that was equally violating, truly happened to me, and my adrenaline spiked, and your fight, flight, or freeze instinct kicks in, and I flew. I, along with many of the other people that were in that room, avoiding the 50 plus gunshots that were going off all around us, crawled out on my hands and knees very quickly, and through the blood of the victims around me, and was able to get to safety within 2 minutes. Cops were coming. I went out the front door of this hall, this building that this classroom was in, and not even kidding, like running away from this thing that was happening, because that's all you could do. Running towards us were cops already. And again, like this whole shooting, this 50 plus rounds, was like less than 5 minutes. And it was insane to me to see cops coming towards us as we were running away. Who would ever run towards that? And obviously I was so grateful for that. But the scene afterwards was truly unbelievable, and I mean that quite literally. You couldn't make a phone call. I snuck in a couple. I had called an ex-girlfriend and my dad. I called 2 people, let them know I was safe, and after that, the cell phone towers shut down. That's something that happens in those situations to prevent further coordination, I assume, but you don't have communication, you don't have your normal, you don't have anything that's normal, and so we fled. We were taken to a police station, and that was kind of it. My aunt taught at that school at the time. She came and found me and drove with me home. Didn't want me to drive alone, which was probably smart at the time. I still drove. You have this primal instinct that allows you to deal with this stuff, whether you process it or not. And so your stages of grief and your stages of emotion, and you go through all that. And I'm sure I was in shock at the time, but I was lucky enough to have a support system to surround myself in and cloak myself in the following days and months. And I actually got a really cool piece of advice, probably unbeknownst to him, but I'll use his real name because I don't think he'd mind me telling this. But my friend Mark at the time, and again, this was Valentine's Day, so I had friends that kind of canceled all their stuff and came and checked in on me and made sure I was okay. and all that. And Mark was like, you could be messed up forever if you wanted to off of this. And that was like the if you wanted to part of that, glib on his part, because there's there's a lot more to it than whether you want to or not. But it was inspirational at the time, because it was like, oh, he's right. Like, I don't want to be defined by this thing, and I don't want it to define my life. I think that looking back, that was probably foolish, because here we are 12 years later, and I don't know that I've processed it fully. You find your ways of coping with things. You find your ways of dealing with it, and getting to sleep at night, and all that. But I guess that's maybe why I'm even talking to a microphone about this thing at all, is that I don't think I have processed it. I think that as much as I don't, and I guess, including, like, probably just most victims, like, you don't want to be defined by this thing that happens to you, but it also, you don't really get a choice. You also can't outrun it, I guess, is my point. You don't have to be defined by it, but you can't really outrun it. And so, what do we do with it? Like, what do you do with trauma on that level? How do you process it? What's the healthy thing to do? And we don't know. Like, and it's weird. These freak, although increasingly frequent, events happen over and over. And how are we supposed to deal with it all? I think that, I guess for me, it's gonna, it's kind of starts with talking about it more, and maybe trying to process it better. But I don't know. I think sharing that story, this story that I'm telling you, and that I'm doing my best to get through without losing it. I guess just sharing the story, like talking about your trauma, talking about, even if it isn't trauma, but talking about the way that you feel, or whatever. I think destigmatizing the victim in these situations is really important, because one of the things that I feel all these years later is really, really guilty about it. I have a lot of guilt. I feel undeserving to have survived. I feel undeserving to, with everything I do, like, I'm not living up to this, like, legacy. I'm embarrassed by the fact that my fight, flight, or freeze instinct was flight. I'm embarrassed that I didn't help somebody. I'm embarrassed that I didn't do more. Quick aside, if you're one of those people that think that these situations can be alleviated with more people having guns in those, like, I'm not trying to make this political, but if you think that adding more guns because you would be able to do something about it to a situation like that is truly a recipe for disaster, because it happens so fast, first of all, and there's so much happening. Like, you would, if you add more guns to that situation, more people die, I assure you. So, so you ask yourself, well, then why do you feel guilty, man? Why do you, what's up with that? And I guess my response to you would be, it's not really how it works. It's not a logical thing. It's not, it's a visceral thing. It's a subconscious thing. And yeah, I guess talking about it more, providing a safe space for people is really important. I think even every time I talk about it, I it's cathartic in one way or another. And then, that sometimes that's me just bawling about it or whatever, but it's cathartic. And in the years since, it's kind of I'm still finding things that it's taken away from me. It's been a violation of, it's an exodus of your innocence as fast as it can be. Because it is, it's truly unbelievable. Like, they used to shut down, like, school shootings used to, be national news for a year, and now they're practically nothing. So I don't know. I'm rambling now, and I don't know what my message is to you. I don't know that I have to have one. I don't know that there's a purpose. I guess, just honesty is kind of my first and foremost value. And so sharing it with you all is important to me, because I do still struggle with it. There have been so many sleepless nights. I can tell you a lot of weird ways that it's affected me. One, obviously, Valentine's Day will never be the same, which is fine. But I also lost the 4th of July. Well, I don't do fireworks so well anymore. I lost movies and movie theaters for a while afterwards. I couldn't go to the movies. Couldn't sit in that environment. I remember the first movie I went and actually sat through post this shooting was, I don't know what it was. I have no idea. I remember not having, like, I sat through that movie and I didn't see a scene of it. I sat there with my knuckles white and just watching the exits, lots of little things, lots of bad days, lots of sleepless nights, lots of panic attacks, lots of meltdowns, and sometimes they come out of nowhere. I think most of the time you don't see them coming. There'll be a trigger, there'll be something that happens, and it'll just bring you right back. It's taken a lot. It's taken a lot, and I guess maybe that's the message is, put more into the world than you're taking out. Give more than you take, especially today, because these events, they're like black holes. They're a vortex for, like I was saying, all kinds of negative energy, negative emotions, negative feelings, negative experiences. And, so when they happen, we have to counterbalance that. We have to put more good into the world than we take. So, take that to be what it is. I go out of your way to hold the door for somebody. It's Valentine's Day. If you're lucky enough to have a squeeze, maybe squeeze them a little harder. Just I don't know, call your mom, tell her you love her. 'Cause life is fragile and short. And, I want people to love each other. Maybe that's what this is too, is my a love letter to you all, you strangers, you wayward souls out there that somehow stumbled upon my path, or vice versa. This is my love letter to you, and just to tell you that no matter what you've gone through, it's okay. You're doing great. You're doing the best you can with it, and you probably never get to stop trying, but you're doing great. And no matter what you've been through, there are people that'll give you a hug, and I'm one of them. And so just don't feel as alone as I do sometimes, I guess. or do. I don't know. I don't mean to tell you what to do or not do, but anyways, it was important to me. This was a really hard thing to talk about, and a hard video to make. Certainly longer than I expected it to be. But such is the case for most things that I do, I suppose. So I don't know. Thank you for listening. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for your patience when I have had a bad day, or if I miss a stream, or if I'm just not myself. So thank you for listening. And I don't know if I'll do a lot more of these. Maybe. I've always wanted to do a podcast, but this isn't really the subject. I'm not an expert in any of this. I'm just a guy telling my story. But thank you so much for listening. And I hope you're with somebody you love today. And if not, you've got my love. So long, everybody.